Architecture Student Contest 2026, which now you know is going to be held in Belgrade, Serbia. And so we're very happy to have you with us for the second session of the Teachers' Days. You see here a picture of the Architecture Student Contest 2025 that just finished in Lyon. So it was full of talent, of enthusiasm, of smiles, networking, great ideas. So we hope that the students and teachers, you will be as inspired in 2026 that you were in 2025. And before we dive into the second session of the Teachers' Days, just a reminder on the rules for collaboration. So, as you know by now, everything will be in English. Please mute yourself for now if you're not speaking. So, we are recording this session. It will be put on the YouTube channel of the Architecture Student Contest so that you can replay it if you want. And any teacher who was not able to attend will be able to find the video on YouTube, and we will have, of course, time for questions. And just a reminder of the organization team, some of you already know us very well, but from the marketing team, we have Timo, who is with me.
Hello.
So myself and Gabrielle, and you have Claudia, Chanez, and Loic, who are also working on the organization of the Architecture Student Contest 2026. And from our amazing Serbian team, we have Luka, Goran, and Mina, who are working locally with our great partners for whom we are very, very grateful. So the World Green Building Council, One Click LCA, the City of Belgrade, of course, the Academic Yachting Club Belgrade, which I'm still not trying to say in Serbian. I'm keeping to the English name, the Serbia Green Building Council, and the Green and Blue Corridors Association. So thank you very much to the partners who make it possible locally and who support the contest. And now, so today, Timo will start by giving you a reminder on the contestas. We're not going to replay the whole introduction video. It is available on YouTube and you will have the links in this presentation. But now the videos are public on the Architecture Student Contest YouTube channel. So you have just to look it up on YouTube and you'll be able to see all the videos. So we'll give you a reminder on the contest task. Then we have the pleasure of having an intervention from the Serbia Green Building Council. And then it will be answer to the questions that you previously asked, and time for new questions, new feedback, and open discussion with you, because you know that thanks to your feedbacks as teachers, as Saint-Gobain leaders, we are able to finalize the contest task and make it better for your students as well. And then a reminder of the next steps. So if you have some questions, please feel free to unmute yourself or type them in the chat. And then, of course, as I mentioned, at the end of this session, we'll have an open discussion. So, Timo, now I'm leaving you the floor.
Yes, so thanks, Gabriel. Thanks everyone for joining. Just as a reminder from what we shared with you a couple of weeks ago on the contest task in Belgrade. So the 2026 edition will take place in Serbia. As Gabriel mentioned, with the cooperation of the City of Belgrade, the Academic Yachting Club, and the Green Blue Corridor, together with the Serbian Green Building Council, which they have provided a lot of input in terms of identifying this project that will be near the riverfront Sava in Belgrade. So as you know, the challenge is going to be related to a sports and recreation hub that tries to revitalize an area that was or is currently previous a cement factory site where the new building will be placed, and the yachting club of Belgrade. So Belgrade. So it's a quite dynamic area where the students are going to be working on. So what you see here on the screen is the waterfront area of Belgrade, where the different areas in purple, and the red dot is where the contest that's going to be. So you can see that it's located in a quite prime location, visible and important for the development and the ideas of the city. Well, we can go on to the next slide. So on the next slide, we see where the site for the new construction will be, okay? Which is all that area that you see in purple. So you see from the screens that from the image that today that site is a cement factory. so that the use will be changed for the sports-related activities we're going to be proposing. And specifically, the project, the building A within the project is going to be an athlete accommodation. So the students will have to propose a building that will support the athletes visiting athletes when they arrive. That includes a cafeteria, changing room, training facilities, and other topics related to sports activities. And for the rest of the area, the idea is for the students to only propose volumetric design, so they don't have to go into detail on any of the other things that they like to propose related to other water, means or other sports activity like pools or training centers or other conditioning facilities, including also a green space. So all that part will be only volumetric. So they will only be focused on the athletic accommodation and nearby green spaces, and for the rest only volumetric design. And for the renovation building, which is the next slide, they are going to be focusing on the existing yachting club of Belgrade, which is the building that you see in the lower right corner. That's a relatively new building, dating from 2017, 18, if I can remember correctly. But as you have probably seen from the videos that were recorded, there's a lot to be done in terms of internal renovation and improvement that could be done to the certain parts of the facade. The idea is to enhance the functionality and accessibility of the building, maintaining the historical character, and integrating some modern things that students might consider, to strengthen the connection between the yacht club and the river, but also the connection with the new development for the new building proposal, including public spaces around it, and that the students can use for this building to have a wider impact than it has right now. In terms of connectivity, remember that you can see that both the existing building and the new construction, they're quite nearby. So students are also encouraged to provide or propose a connectivity between these two sites. And other topics that is related to where the existing building is located, you have nearby a ecological corridor where you have some specific species that live there, and the intention is for the students to integrate these ecological aspects into their design so they can promote the activities of this ecological corridor. Among other things to consider, and some of them is more detailed on the contest task, you have a pedestrian and bike connectivity that goes along the waterfront. So the idea is for this to also appear in the proposals in this area to maximize the forestation and the green areas that are to the proximity of these sites. So this is in short the new construction and the renovation that will serve as a base for the students for the 2026 project next year in Belgrade. If we continue, again, this is just to say that sustainability is an important aspect of what students need to consider, and here we're just highlighting some of the key drivers that are important and to consider when developing or designing a sustainable building. So one of this comes from the framework developed by Saint-Gobain that we use internally to also support our activities in how to communicate the contribution of our building materials into the construction sector. So one aspect is, how do we impact how are the constructions that we're doing impacting better for the planet and better for the people? From the planet side, on the energy and carbon side, how we're reducing energy consumption, reducing embodied carbon, operational carbon, and promoting renewable energy. From the resources side, how can we reduce waste optimize resources from raw materials, water uses, etc., but also extend the lifespan of the products in the buildings. And from the better for the people, to consider not only the comfort of users in terms of thermal comfort, acoustic comfort, daylight comfort, among others, but also the comfort of installers. So an idea is to think that when these projects are going to be developing, are there easy to install, lightweight, do they reduce pollutants during construction and dust, for example? And so again, some drivers that students can consider to reflect and develop their proposal. And then if we go to the next slide, and then you will have in the presentation a little bit more, and also in the context, that's a little bit more information of certain values and thresholds to take into account for students when they're doing their analysis. Obviously, one of them is especially for the new construction, to aim for really low energy consuming building related to not only heating, but also probably cooling, and some suggestions in terms of U values and air tightness values to consider when they do their energy simulation. And also in terms of circularity, as we have done for the last couple of years, they will count with a one-click LCA tool that will help them to identify and select materials that have a lower embodied carbon. So these are aspects that the students should consider, not only in terms of calculations, but also in terms of identifying and selecting materials for their projects. And similarly, we go to the next slide, some values related to the better for the people. What to look for in terms of, how to optimize daylight in the spaces. Excuse me. And so here are some recommendations in terms of a threshold, improving acoustic, CO2 concentrations level internally, and ranges for thermal comfort. And lastly, going to the next slide, the judging criteria will be the same as we have done in the past 2 years. And I will just stop a couple of minutes just to reinforce the message here. So you can see that the points breakdown between the new construction and renovation is 60-40, giving more weight to the new construction to the renovation, but at the same time, giving the signal that the renovation part is important in the students' development of this proposal. And then both of them are then equally divided between an architecture aspect and a sustainable construction aspect. For the sustainable construction is a little of what I mentioned in the previous slides, for the students to take into account criteria like orientation, bioclimatic design, among other things, but also drivers and indicators that are both better for the planet and better for the people, and how they use also Saint-Gobain materials to be able to address this. And obviously, when they go into the more technical part in terms of, what solutions are they proposing for this facade or for internal partitions, etc., to take into account topics like, thermal bridges, acoustic, air tightness, etc. So we see that for the sustainability part, it's not only the technical part of the construction, but also the sustainability components that they need to address. And for the architecture part, and I will go over the 3 bullet points. The first one related to understanding the local context, the local and the cultural context. This is where the students should propose something that addresses a specific need, not only in terms of a function, but in terms of, the type of visitors, people, the users that are going to be exposed to this activity. Understanding also the cultural context is in a specific area in Europe, within a city, that they need to also take into account. So for the students, when the students make the proposal, for them to be convinced that what they're proposing actually addresses the cultural, societal needs of the project. And that goes also, that's aligned also with how the proposal responds to the context in general, in terms of, what heights of buildings are nearby, what connectivity there is or could be made with other areas nearby. That's where it touches with the ecological corridor that we talked about before, and how they address green spaces. So there's an architectural part that is mainly aesthetic, but also social in terms of their appreciation and how it responds to the place. And then a simple construction part related to the technical part and the, let's say, sustainability criteria that need to be evaluated. Just to highlight that these two areas are important in the project conception. And again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to write them in the chat, and then towards the end we'll have a good portion of the session to go over them.
Yes, and so thank you, Timo, for the reminder. As Timo mentioned, please feel free to compile your question, write them in the chat, because the last part of this session is the open discussion. So we'll have all the time we need to address any feedback or questions that you have. And you already have a good amount of resources available on the contest task for the Architecture Student Contest 2026. So the website of the Architecture Student Contest will be updated to 2026 in September 2025. But for now, the current version of the contest task, a lot of related documents, so plans, etc., they are available through the link here on Viva Engage, meaning that the Saint-Gobain leaders for each country have access to all those documents, and they can provide them to all the teachers. So if you're a teacher and you haven't had access to the document, you can ask your local Saint-Gobain contact to send them to you. As I mentioned, you have here also the links to the contest task presentation video. So it's a very comprehensive video with footage of Belgrade, footage of the location, the two sites that Timo just reminded you of in Belgrade. And then you have the 360 immersive video so that you can, play around, move around the video, and have the impression that you are on site to help you and your students better understand the contest task. So those are already public and available on YouTube. And the contest task and the contest task related documents are for now available via your Saint-Gobain leader. And here I rewrote that the final version of the contest task will be available in September, because through the summer, Timo and our Serbian colleagues, they're going to fine-tune the contest task, and we will launch it officially with the final version in September when we update the website to the 2026 edition. And because today you might have new questions as well, so we want to make sure to listen to all of your questions and your feedback to gather them all to fine-tune the contest task document over the summer. So the last version will be ready in September. There will be no major changes, don't worry. But for now, you can ask your local Saint-Gobain leader to provide you with the contest task and all related documentation if you want to have them now. And now, Luca, I believe we have a special guest that we are very, very happy to welcome from the Serbia Green Building Council. And I will let you introduce her.
Yes, we do. I really have a privilege to announce someone whose contributions is truly significant here in Serbia. Bojana is truly an example that this student contest naturally selects 3 years outstanding people in our community, even from their early stage of the professional life. As you can see here, as an announcement, she's the president of the Serbian Green Building Council, but she was a participant of our contest 2 years ago, let's say like that, not just once but 2 times. And now she's assistant professor at the Faculty of Architecture, University of Belgrade. A few years ago, she was a jury member at the national level, and usually she has 1 or 2 teams nowadays for the new generations of architecture student contest participant. So, Bojana, are you with us?
Yes, thank you for this announcement. I'm a little bit shy now, but yeah, everything is true. Yes, this contest really feels like home. Once as a student, 2 times a contester, a member of the jury on the national level. This year, my team won the national first prize. So we were in Lyon and it was amazing. Thank you once again for the amazing organization and experience. And we are really looking forward to the next year's edition. And now, currently speaking from the role of the president of Serbian Green Building Council, I can say that we're very proud of this cooperation among our members, Saint-Gobain as our member, and Faculty of Architecture and other faculties in Serbia. And we hope that we will together try to motivate as many students possible to join this competition and that it will be a success. So it's really an honor to somehow merge all this years and years of cooperation into this amazing experience.
Thank you so much, and thank you for taking the time, to address everybody. Can I ask you maybe if you could summarize your experience? I know we didn't prepare this, so I'm really asking like this, but
No worry. No worry.
summarize your experience as a contestant in the architecture student contest, because I think sometimes for new countries and new teachers, you don't really realize what it means, and it's normal because if you haven't gone through the process, you don't really realize. So for us, it's really precious to have the feedback of someone who built their career and who went through the contest.
Yeah, well, it was a long, long time ago, some 15 years ago. But I remember as it was a little bit different organizationally. I remember that all three teams from national stages went to the international competition, but it was a smaller format, let's say. So for us, but I think it's the same experience for students, even nowadays, more pronounced when it's more, let's say, a bigger event, more contestants, really amazing coverage of all continents and really different views of architecture. I think that that is really important for students. First of all, to see those different perspectives of the same location and the same task. We always think that our solution is the only one possible. For students and for teachers also, I was really, now in Lyon, I was really impressed by all different interpretations and different scenarios and concepts that you don't analyze. You're led by your idea and somehow your idea centered. But that is really an amazing experience, and that is an experience of every competition. But for the student competition, I think for students is the most important thing is to, let's say, they give their best and then they go and see that they are in the line of all the other teams of other countries. Like the level of all projects is really harmonized, and it's a really high level of detail, of elaboration, and to see that they are ready to compete, that they are ready to compete in the international market, and that they are somehow they test their skills outside of the university. I think that that is really you cannot change that experience with anything else. Even in practice, you're different. Let's say you're led by investor, by some wishes, some constraints, and here you can really like free yourself and do your best and see that you're in the line of other teams, that you're ready to compete.
Yes, thank you so much for your feedback. And just to give a bit of context for those of you who maybe were not participating this year or are not aware of the scale of the contest. So this year in Lyon, we had 33 countries participating. And as you just mentioned, from every continent. So you had Latin America with Mexico, Colombia. We had Asia with China, Hong Kong, Japan, South Korea, Indonesia, Malaysia. We had Africa with South Africa, with Morocco. We had, of course, a lot of European countries. So it's really a global contest. And we had more than 200 people at the international stage. So the students, it's also, a source of pride, I think, for them to be able to get to the international stage. And it's really a great experience because they have to pitch their project in 5 minutes in front of the whole audience. So not only the 8 jury members, but the 200 people who are competing as well. So it's a great experience. And maybe, Boyana, can you tell us how if you had any advice for the teachers who have not participated yet in the architecture student contest, how would you advise them to go about working on the projects and the contest task with their students? Do you have any tips?
Yeah. Well, we have I worked for several years before in a studio with my professor, who was also mentor of student teams a couple, 2 or 3 previous years, I think. So we have an experience of making it a part of the curricular, like a studio task for the autumn semester, or even the diploma task for the spring semester. And I think that the best timeline is to make it, if you can integrate it with the curricular, it's always much, let's say, not easier for students, but they're more focused than doing that in their own free time, because they already have many obligations and exams. And so if they can focus their studio work on that for an entire semester, I think the tasks are always really comprehensive and large, and not something that you can deal with very fast. So you need time, you need expertise. If you can, let's say, call engineers and colleagues of different, let's say, specialities to contribute to the development of your let's say project, that's perfect. If not, this year, because of the specific, let's say, circumstances in Serbia, we couldn't integrate it with the curricula. So we did it, let's say, in our free time. And it also turned out to be really, well, challenging, yes, but also rather intensive. And it also brought a different type of quality. So we had a really short period of focused work only on the project. So that also works, but without any other distractions. Then it's like running a 100-meter race, not a marathon, but a 100-meter race, and that also works. But then you have to be really, really focused. So
Yeah.
these are some of the experiences we had. So.
And you mentioned, so this year it was not integrated in the curriculum. Do you know roughly, I know sometimes it's hard to estimate, how many hours of work it took your students? Because sometimes we have these questions. Honestly, it varies a lot from
Yes.
one team to another.
Yes.
So it can be very different, but on average, would you have an estimate?
Oof, that is really a hard question.
Maybe it's difficult to answer.
Well, to be honest, like for this year, I can say it for this year, it was intensive work for a month. So a month, but day night, like really intensive work for a month. So if you can somehow disperse it throughout the semester, maybe it's more balanced. But sometimes even this 100-meter race without much questioning your let's say initial ideas, sometimes it also gives interesting results. So it's a different qualities and different outcomes.
Great. Thank you so much for your feedback and your experience. Timo, did you have any questions you wanted to ask?
Actually, thanks a lot, Bojana, for the tips. Probably one question would be, which is going to be related to the next part of the questions and answers, like, are there aspects of the projects that you have worked as, supporting teacher that you would like to see, let's say, repeated in future events? Right now, we take into account the new construction, the renovation, but are there things that are related to the architecture curriculum that should be highlighted? I mean, I mentioned the evaluation that we look at architecture sustainability, but are there other parts, to complement what you're doing within the university?
Well, the main characteristic of this competition, even I remember when we were students, what drew me to this competition and to selecting to do this competition continuously was this focus on sustainability and issues of sustainability, bioclimatic design, green design. This really colors the entire project task and the entire, let's say, project outcome. We know nowadays, now also speaking a little bit from this chair of president of Green Building Council, this is somehow it's a universal thing. In every competition, you will have this aspect highlighted and written down, but it's not as it's equally valued in every competition task, in every country, in every, let's say, community. So sometimes it's only given to fill out some standards. Here, I think that it's really in the core of the evaluation and in the core of design. So I think that with this strong highlight, I would only emphasize this, let's say, people aspect, planet aspect, this ecological, but also societal, and the benefits for the people and for the development of the city. And I think that for the next year's edition in Belgrade, now looking at the condensed task and some recent developments in Belgrade, I think that this answer, it's like it comes in the right time. This location is planned to be developed. So I'm really eager to see how students and teachers from all around the world would see the sustainable development of this region and this, let's say, coastal area would look like. How do they see it? Because I'm not sure that some recent developments here are on the right track from the aspects of sustainability. So I think I'm really eager to let's say, see some future perspectives, and I hope that some I also see from other editions of this competition that some city officials look very carefully at the solutions and try even to integrate them into some future developments, and that they really don't see it only as a student competition, as a polygon for some ideas that are maybe more or less let's say, realistic, but that they really listen carefully and look carefully and try to see what these young people want these locations to look like and to develop in a sustainable way. So I think that should be, that is, let's say, enough emphasized.
No, thanks a lot. No, in that topic, just to complement, indeed, the city, I mean, the local partners, when they have obviously participated, like what happened in Lyon with the Legan Atelier in the village of Similan, they looked into this for good and different ideas of how their city or community could evolve, like Helsinki 2 years ago. So I think it's always also, as you mentioned, nice for students to think about their project and what contribution they might give to other stakeholders, and hopefully for next year in Serbia, the local stakeholders will take into account the different ideas in the evolution of the city.
And especially that some works of students give, let's say, give a really wider picture of how this should be developed, maybe in a modular, in a self-built way, not really just following the conventional types of construction and modes of construction and modes of development. Developers are always looking at that from the most economic and rational way, but the student competition gives this, let's say, wider angle of looking at it. So even some cooperative modes of developing something, or with more ecological materials, with more sustainable construction practices, can also be something that is innovative and that can find then a way into the real world.
Yes, absolutely, and thank you so much. Did you want to add anything, or Luca, did you have any questions?
Yeah, I can only add that we always need more contributors who respect sustainable architecture. So Bojana is helping us to collect more and more students who are interested in this topic. So once again, thank you for that, Bojana.
You're welcome.
Yes. Thank you so much for your testimony, for taking the time to have this discussion. Bojana, is there anything you want to add before we move on to the open discussion?
I'm really looking forward to the discussion to see the reactions on the plot site.
Okay,
Thank you so much for this opportunity to really openly share my experience.
No, we're very happy, and we always say it, and we really mean it. Without you as a teacher, as a member of the president of the Serbian Green Building Council, without the work that you do, there will be no student contest. So thank you very much for motivating your students and joining every year. And thanks to all of the teachers because you help us build the contest in the community of future architects as well. So it's invaluable.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And so now, as you mentioned, we move on to the open discussion. So Timo has a few things to share with everyone, and then the floor will be everyone's.
Yes. So, so I will start with a couple of comments that I received last week during the meeting at Lyon in the last contest, and then I will move on to the questions that you have shared on the chat. I will do it in that order. So there were three comments that were shared by different professors, students, and Saint-Gobain leaders last week. One of them was related to the size of the site area for Building A. The comment was, and it is true, the proposal as of today is a large area, almost 120,000 square meters. And the question was that being perceived as too large, is there the possibility to reduce the area to focus more on a portion of that that is more in scale with the building that is being requested and also the urban area associated to being requested? So on that topic, we're currently analyzing a potential reduction of the site because indeed, when we compare the surface from Le Grand Atelier for the 2025 edition and this one for Belgrade is 6 times larger, and we understand the complexity in terms of more areas, more volumetry, more detail, more green space. So that right now is being evaluated to see to what potential surface could be provided. That is also interesting for students understanding also the connectivity with the city, with existing buildings and close to the river. So we are undergoing discussions on that topic. And linked to that there is one of the reasons why Gabriel mentioned that we will be working on the final version of the contest task between right now and in the summer, so you can have that finalization. In any case, the two main objectives, I mean, the project will not change in the sense that there will be a new building and a renovation project. But based on the discussions today and the note that I take, there will be adjustments either in terms of the site and clarification some of the questions and other comments that you may have. Another comment that was received was on existing plans for the for the yachting club. Are there other documents like sections, elevations, etc.? Unfortunately, what we have shared so far is the only documentation that the yachting club owns at the moment, has has a hold of. So there's not more AutoCAD files related to other parts of the building. So on that side, students will need to look at the different images and videos in Google Maps a perspective to have an idea of the other parts, and then make estimations of what they can propose on that in that topic. But there, unfortunately, we don't have additional documentation to share on the existing building. Another comment that was mentioned, and probably, and I think it was after the students had the feedback session with the international jury, is that on the comment of students being able to show with more conviction, let's say emotion or passion, their design. There's not a specific evaluation criteria, related to how emotive, students aren't presenting their projects, but there's an aspect related to that, which is, the how the students' design responds to the local entity and culture. In that respects, the part of that evaluation is like how strong their proposal is in addressing this cultural, societal, and context within their design. And obviously, this is something that, in this case, in Lyon, also in Helsinki, the international jury wants to see reflected not only on, let's say, on the paper output of the student's proposal, but also during the presentation. How convinced they are in terms of the storytelling, in terms of how their project is actually addressing not only the functional need of a residential or other type of typology, but also the user need related to the context. So those are some of the comments that were shared. Now we'll go to the to the questions you have written in the chat. So the first question is, when in September or design studio starts on September the 15th?
So the 1st of September, we're going to update the website from the Architecture Student Contest 2025 to the Architecture Student Contest 2026. So on September 1st, all the documents and the final documents will be available on our website.
Yes. And also related to that question, as I mentioned before, if you want to start the study the September 15th, the location of the projects is not going to change. The task in terms of the new construction and renovation will not change. The evaluation criteria will not change. And there will probably, in any case, if something is going to be adapted, it's going to be related to, let's say, making the task, more feasible for students in terms of, sizing and potential additional documents that we might have. But I think with the information that we have that you will have up to now, it will probably most likely be enough to start a discussion and reflection of what a proposal students can give to that site.
Yes, the core of the task doesn't change. And even, if the website is updated on September 1st, usually the final contest task is available before that. And as soon as the final contest task is available, we send out a notification to all the local Saint-Gobain colleagues. So you can refer to your Saint-Gobain local to your Saint-Gobain local contact, who will be able to tell you if there is any change and if when the contest task has been finalized. But for sure, September 1st, everything will be on the website, and probably everything will be ready a couple of weeks before.
Yes. Next question, regarding the renovation part of the task, what is wrong with the current or not so new project? Size, function, performance, presence? Luke, I don't know if you want to give your comments on this one.
Yes, maybe I can share with you more details just to know the context. So basically, the Academic Yachting Club is the oldest one in our city. It was founded in 1938, and it was their location was on a different it was a different location of their headquarters a few years ago. But that location, they need to move because of the bridge construction. So from 2008, those are their new headquarters, and it was like take it or leave it scenario. Say they received that building, and I do believe that if we value or analyze only their needs, that this building has more than enough for their purpose, for their needs. But then if you analyze the whole context of the student task, if you add other water sports and other sports as well, maybe there's an opportunity to think about how to use that building differently. So to keep the headquarters of the Academic Yachting Club, but to add additional purpose. The second thing that I would like to emphasize is that the current state of that building is literally they have only walls. So basically they're using one let's say room for their offices, and they have a huge hangar or a garage for those small student yachts. So basically, they do not have anything like a gym or a meeting room, etc., etc. So all of those can be part of the student's idea. And something that teachers asked me during our stay in Lyon, it was all about the second floor, which is not at the club's disposal. So the building that you saw has a second floor, but that floor is not at the club's disposal. What does that mean? So basically, after finishing the project, the Academic Yachting Club Belgrade cannot use that second floor yet. Students are free to suggest, let's say, all the ideas regarding the exterior through the renovation process. So when we are considering the look of the building, the design of the building, they're free enough to think about it, but just bear in mind that they cannot use additional floor for the purpose of the yachting club. So that part of the building is at the government exposure.
Perfect. I think there's a question. Is it
Yep.
Guillermo?
Yeah. Thank you, Luca. I agree with the first part of the presentation, which relates to the purpose of a yachting club on its own, and then linked to the new facilities that will bring more athletes and more sport. But it really concerns me that a building from 2008 doesn't even have plans or planning permission, and that you mentioned that the first floor, I mean, the half of, or more than half of the building is out of bounds. So would it be possible to know what's going on there? Is it a secret storage, or because when you ask the students to propose, the idea of renovation is integrated with not just the image of the building on the outside, but the function, the structural purposes. Even in terms of the circularity, you could set up certain aspirations in terms of the future of that building. So if that part of the building is out of bounds, it's really difficult to, I don't know, to provide let me put it this way, to provide the jury some element of criteria that could be comparable, because sorry, I cannot imagine that secret part not being available.
No, to be honest, there's no secret. It's literally, we were there, so it's literally a store, some kind of a storage currently. The whole building is halfly done, so even on their first floor, that is at their disposal. They have just a lot of stuff, and they didn't finish all the things. You can see that on a 360 video. So basically, there's no secret. It just the second floor, it's not at their disposal. So just to emphasize to students that they cannot put elements of the acting club on the second floor. That's all. I do believe that it will be kind of of the office space and the storage space that is in the custody of the city of Belgrade. So it doesn't mean that that's any kind of secret, but the current documents that we currently have at our disposal, we share with you. If you do believe that it's mandatory to gather something more, we will do our best till the August or September. We just didn't want to, tightly frame students. We just wanted to give them enough freedom to rethink the use of that building.
So if I may, the freedom will be even a restaurant in the first floor to make money to keep the place open.
Well,
Could that be?
That could be an idea as well. I mean,
all right, okay. So that sort of freedom we're talking about, and I appreciate you mention it, because sometimes we feel that, well, in the criteria, particularly when we refer to cultural aspects of the site, the criteria will be embedded in the aspiration of the project, of what it wants to be, compared to the opportunities that our students could identify. Now, the identification of opportunities is quite difficult or unique because it's remote. I think the only students that really visited the sites were the French. And of course, they had an edge there. And it is super hard to gather that hidden message or that mystery opportunity to take on. Now, I think it's important to clarify that sort of freedom, the levels of that freedom, because I mean, I don't want to enter in a debate about the current the ISER competition, but the jury told us in our feedback that they were very, very influenced by the will of Grand Atelier director and Shimiling major to decide the project. So I was thinking, well, I was not under that impression. So is that going to be a case to be more clarified, for example, in this particular competition?
Luca, may I add just a couple of things from the
Of
side
course.
we were together there. So basically, to add something to the building. The building was, like, I would say, pretty new from the academic club. But the thing is, it was made on a certain project which is somehow, I would say, almost incomplete. Then there was also a case of who is managing the money, because the club is not a wealthy institution of a kind. And while moving from one side on the other, there was a kind of a, how to say, a case. They could get the club on a new spot. They could get the floor, but what was needed to leave the first floor to nobody knows exactly what. And so far from the information that we are getting from the club is that this actually nobody uses the first floor. And in a matter of student competition, it wouldn't be an issue to use it as a part of the project. But if we want to be completely legal as we are, it was said, okay, if you don't need to use it, don't use it. But if it's mandatory to use it for whatever reasons you're proposing, I don't think that anybody would say no in that matter. So it's accessible, it's reachable, it's no secret. We can send photos. It's not an issue of any kind, but it doesn't belong to the club. And to get the real owners to talk with them, it's impossible because the club itself is not sure, because it's the city, but the city doesn't care about it.
If I may, not to extend it too much, Goran, thank you very much for that comment, because actually it's true that the ownership of land and everything is always a complicated one. It's not as straightforward. But yeah. I think, and I would like to propose as part of the, I would say, the nature of a competition like this, which is of ideas, that the students should be able to imagine, to have a vision of what could happen there. I mean, what would be the best opportunity for the whole complex? The reality is so far from it. Like an ideas competition cannot be entirely, I would say, constrained by those aspects. I believe the opportunity of using the entirety of the building and actually the geographical presence of that building, because in a first view, you can see that little building next to the super bridge and next to that big confluence of waters, it deserves more, you see. Now, let's make the students think about what is more, you see. And that could involve, I don't know. I mean, I said a restaurant out of the blue, but it could be something completely different. I mean, an astronomic observatory for sailors, you know, things like.
Yeah, in that matter, that's no issue. Maybe we can, in these 2 months, we can find a kind of a solution to propose. Let's say that it belongs to a different owner and it can contain some kind of offices which will represent, I don't know, culture or sport or whatever. It could be suitable for that. That wouldn't be an issue since it's already not used. So any proposal would fit, you know, whatever we say, it could fit and nobody will pay too much attention to it in a matter from the city authorities, because they at this point of time they don't care too much. So that's an opportunity we can use, and I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. And as for Lucas said, well, it's a competition, so anybody is free to propose whatever they find suitable for the task. But at one point of time, it was also an idea that the reconstruction would be kind of a office for the sports area around, that we are building. So there are many, many, many possibilities, and one of those is the one that you said. So I think we can manage to make it complete as you propose.
Thank you very much.
Goran, if I can add regarding your piece of advice to add a second floor. So if you do believe that it would be quite beneficial for students to make the whole proposal together with the second floor, that's totally fine. We are open for that kind of ideas. It would be just good to emphasize to students that it needs to be something additional, right? So not to create some content that is necessary for the yachting club on the second floor, having in mind that we already know for sure that floor is not at their disposal. So if students would like to propose some additional content, that's totally fine. As you said, like restaurant or something like that, but just not to go into direction where the second floor will have some mandatory content for the club itself, because at their disposal they have the base, the ground level, and the first floor. The yachting club would really like to hear all the ideas from students, because their space is halfly done, and they would like to gather the inspiration from these magnificent
and
students.
Exactly, in that situation, the club will have its own purpose and everything that fits the club, and this is an extra thing that could be used in a different ways, no matter who is the owner. Not to connect the first floor with the club. That I think it's fully acceptable.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, Elguillo, for the question, and Goran and Luca for addressing this. I'm taking notes of this to reflect and integrate them into the future version of the contest task. So the following question, also gamer from your side, let me just read it. Regarding the new building, it's supposed to be a quite small building within a quite large area to master plan. However, what is concerning is the connectivity and the continuity towards the rest of the city, as a given site appears quite isolated from the rest of the city. Would there be any guidance on what should be the influence from the city and towards the city? Luca, I let you go first if you have thoughts on that.
Yeah. Regarding the new building development, we define the capacity that new building needs to have, and the rest of the plot, the existing one, or even the reduced area that we are discussing, is for the greenery, for the additional content, for athletes, for sportsmen. So it's just give the freedom to students to think about the whole, let's say, sport village or a sport hub. Regarding the connectivity, I do believe that some of our teachers asked us last time for the bicycle infrastructure, so received that as a part of sustainable traffic, right? So we received the map of the bicycle infrastructure or bicycle network for the city of Belgrade, so you can use that. The second important part to mention is that part of Belgrade, New Belgrade, is the business center of our capital, and it has well-developed residential area, mostly upstream of the Sava River. So you have huge residential area upstream on the river. So it has a pretty vibrant content in that part of the city. And the third part that I would like to emphasize, that across the river, you have the biggest development plan in the recent history. It is called Belgrade Waterfront. It's completely new area of the city, the prime area. It's really huge, and we already know for the plans to for the additional connection of those two riverbanks with new bridges, new pedestrian zones, etc., etc. So I do believe that we sent. I'm not sure whether it's already shared with professors, but we have a presentation that is called Explanation of the Context. So there you can see all different areas around our contest task location that could be important for your task and interesting for your students as well. Yes, please.
Thank you very much. I think it's interesting that not in only my opinion, but I've had the opportunity of talking to other teachers, especially those new to the competition that we want to add from the UK. And the first impression that we got was, wow, this needs an urban design plan before, like giving an architectural student in their final years the amount of responsibility to resolve that interesting puzzle, and I'm not going to say a difficult or let's say complicated, but a complex task, is a project on its own. One thing I heard was, well, those are really two projects: the master plan, the will of the place to be a bit more organized, and the interventions on it. So I was wondering if, because I am considering the possibility of actually run it double, like first semester urban and second semester architecture. But wouldn't it be possible to provide, as the competition contest task, a bit of at least a zoning of the continuity, for example, of that waterfront coming from the north east, or let's say the attitude that should be towards the railway lines, because those act as barriers, natural, I mean, physical, massive barriers. So if the organization could declare that the site is not expected to grow north, for example, but it's expected to generate a continuity towards the east, the northeast, which is the border of the site, then the attitude towards the ecological corridor, which is a very exciting opportunity there, because that could become, well, that is the access, the physical access to the yachting club at the moment. And if there is a bigger, let's say, demand of getting there, there will be a conflict with the ecological, let's say, sanctuary. So it's interesting that these ideas could be part of the brief, I believe. Yeah, I mean, I had an idea that I discussed with and Gabriel and other people. It's about how important is the vision of the students, that the locals or the ones that are able to visit the site, how important is their vision to be shared directly to the student competing rather than through the tutors or through the organization. And because maybe all the information could be shared across that platform. So I take the freedom to reiterate my offer or the suggestion I made, that maybe a network between students, especially led by the Serbians, could be an amazing source of inspiration and clarification. And I think it's powerful. Anyway, I leave it there, but like a proposal, an idea. But I think it's really important, the scale, because if students are going to invent, if you wish, or visualize something to justify their project, it could be anything.
Yes.
That's the problem I see, having to justify the architectural intervention. I think the urban here is much more than just justifying a building.
No, just to complement that, Guillermo, I think, I mean, we shared on the drive, there was a zoning plan for the area. I'm just gonna share my screen right now.
Aha, correct.
This is included in documentation that was shared by the Serbian team. And there's so as you can see, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but you can see here the island where the existing building will be.
Yep.
You see here on the right side the bridge that will become a pedestrian bridge in the near future. And here you have the existing rail line, a railway that goes through it, and you can see what the proposal is for different types of zoning. So you can see that basically closer to this highway here on the top, you have commercial zone areas, you have mixed housing areas, and closer to the water, to the riverside, is where you have these areas for sport facilities and complex.
All right.
And so this gives you already an idea of what was thought in terms of, a plot growth in terms of activities and functions. Coming back to one of the first comments that I received, some people, thinking, and I agree that this is 12 acres is a lot, for students to propose in terms of, addressing all of this in terms of, housing. So we're ongoing the discussion on reducing the site. Most likely, it's not confirmed yet, but most likely will be on these lots 46 and 47, and that would reduce the zoning closer to 25,000 square meters or something of the sort. But coming to your answer and to the previous questions, the idea is not for the students to reinvent what a master plan for that zone would be. But based on the information that is being shared, what ideas of volumetries they could propose for the rest of the part where their building would not be located. And this was shared. And another, let me just open up here. The other document that Luca was talking about is this one. It was also shared, that talks about the important buildings around the city that the students can integrate into the reflection of, what's around, and, why this could be, as you mentioned, what more this site could give to the city. So this is where we are. So here you see in the top, what they call the linear park. On this side, a recreational center on this northern part. So it's just, I'm not going to go through all the slides, but you see in different locations, a specific site with some functionality and attractivity for the Belgrade waterfront area. This is the Belgrade waterfront, what Luca was just talking about, opposite to the riverside. There's this whole development. Unfortunately, when you see it on Google Maps, the images are probably not updated to what it is right now. But if you see some other images, there's a lot of, a large business district, being developed on that side. And I think this could help the question of, what other areas of the city are growing, what's around that could complement, what the role of this red dot is in terms of the new building in its context.
That's absolutely clear. Yes, sir. No, absolutely.
Guillermo,
sorry. Just to finalize, because Luca mentioned to the bike lane. When you look closer, you will see where you see where my mouse is at. There you have a large park area with a promenade, sort of a promenade and a biking path around there, which then continues on this side. So obviously today there's a discontinuity that is located where the project site will be, but obviously you will probably see that there should be a connectivity and continuity of one going from along the river.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah, may I adjust something? So,
yes.
Guillermo, thank you for your comment and a great piece of suggestion. So, whenever we have the opportunity to foster and nurture that collaboration among students, we are here for that. So, thank you for that. We can help students if you do believe that it is too complex for them. So, we can help them with additional zoning, with additional guidelines, or as Timoteo mentioned, maybe we can reduce the plot. So I mean that's the whole purpose of this event, to discuss.
Yep.
And to bring the best student task for the upcoming year for our students. So thank you for that. Of course,
Thank
the
you.
discussion is open.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if there's other questions on the chat. Probably we're not addressing all the, sorry, we're addressing all the questions. Probably we don't have the answers for all the questions, but again, the idea is if you have other comments, you know, feel free to share them via the Saint-Gobain leaders to us, and to see how we can integrate them and make this a clear project for everybody. Let me go to the next question regarding the existing function in the large site. What will be the state of the site after removal of the current function? Will it be flat or clean or pollution? Or is there a chance that some of the existing buildings remain, like concrete foundations? Relevant for the topic of circularity. I don't know, look at, so the question is, you know, would anything related to the cement plant remain or be removed in the new development of the city?
It will be removed. So the task is defined by the thought that the cement factory will be removed. Just to remind you, the whole that area is officially protected because of the protected bird species. Unfortunately, because of the let's say, I mean, development of the city, that is like a temporary cement factory there. But if we want to think about sustainability, if we want to develop the city and the whole concept of sustainable modern city, then it needs to be removed. So even in the current version of the video of the contest task, it is mentioned that all current buildings at that area can be removed.
And one other thing, since the solution for this concrete factory or whatever was temporary, I don't personally, first, you're not able to check, but personally, I'm not sure that any of the building is worth keeping. And the foundation and the infrastructure there was meant to be temporary. So basically, whatever is there has to be removed for one reason or the other. There is nothing significant, you know, that could be there for whatever reasons, you know, of saying, okay, let's keep something, let's not destruct everything and use something. No, this is not the case.
And the last question, calculations, are they also required for the building being repaired? If so, precise. No, so the as indicated in the contest test, calculations are meant to be done only for the new building, both for the energy simulation and for the one-click LCA analysis. And with that, we have come, we have addressed at least the questions that were in the chat. Just keeping the floor open from the participants online. Is there anyone that has another question or comments or suggestions? Again, you know, the objective of this second teacher's call is to improve the contest. Yes? Agnieszka.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Morning. I'd like to ask, because I've just taken part once, just being at Lyon, and yeah, big thank you for Saint-Gobain. Hello. I don't know whether you ever practiced that, but was it or is it somehow possible to organize a kind of an open walking through the city for people that would like to come for a day or two, possibly? I mean, not organizing ourselves secret meetings, but, well, just establishing a kind of, I don't know, open source scheduled, checking some possible periods of coming to Belgrade, and then maybe having an hour or something of tutoring with people from Serbia at the site. Is it possible? Because as we are teaching our students, the clue issue is to feel the place. So how to do it without not being there? Of course, my students couldn't afford their flights to Chimelin or Le Grand Atelier, as far as we joined only on November. So it was really a short time to finish, but still, we've been missing feeling the place. It is a clue. You for sure will agree with me, because professionally we would start with that, being architects. So maybe it's somehow to be afforded to be possible via some Erasmus going out or something for us or for students even. What about it? Have you ever practiced it? How is it from your side? Thank you.
It's true that being there and seeing the plot and the site itself is a huge help, and we absolutely understand this. We try our best with the videos, the 360 videos, to be able to immerse you and your students as much as we can in the sites, but we know that being on site is always a bonus. We don't organize so far teachers trip to the site. If this is something that you want to do, we could try putting teachers together in touch. But one thing is that we, as the international organizer, have to be is impartial and make sure that we practice equity to all the teachers. So even if we put some teachers together and we have let's say a teacher's trip for maybe 10 teachers who want to go, and then they want to visit the sites, we have all the teachers would not be able to join, and we cannot have any kind of intervention to give you an advantage over other teachers. So not ourselves, being able to have a conference on site. If we do this, the one thing I would say is that if we do this, it would have to be recorded for everybody to see. And maybe, I know, Guillermo, you went to France this year. We asked you for your feedback, and you can very kindly give us some of your time. And we recorded your feedback so that every other teacher was able to see it. So if we do this, there's always this part where we don't want to disadvantage some teachers over some others. So the teachers who will be able to join the trip versus the ones who will not be ever able to join the trip. So if we do this, we have to find a way to make it to make the information and your feedback as teacher available to everyone. But I'm thinking that this is something that you would not be against, sharing your feedback with everyone. But we have to be cautious on the equity of everything. So far, we don't do it. But it's you're not the first person to tell us, we would love to go on site first. So we need to consider it, and we need to see how we can do it for but the most we could do is probably put teachers in contact with one another, rather than organizing a real trip.
It's still a huge help. It's still a huge help just to be in in an honest place, because some people can afford it, some can't. Me personally, I'm not really convinced that I could, but maybe my students would like to organize something by themselves, having some friends in Serbia, I don't know, and then still linking them all together, letting them go and sharing, as my colleagues said, let's share the infos, because it's only a synergic effect, and that's probably what you at Saint-Gobain are doing, just sharing. As my students say, sharing is caring, and it is. Nothing bad comes from sharing, and still we're looking for some information, and we can share it, and we can put some additional value for Serbia, because this is our aim. To find the best solution. Competition is one, getting the experience is second, and still teaching students and getting experience how we should do professionally. It's the third one. So even having the opportunity to meet anybody officially, somehow, if the idea like this will be possible in a way or second, maybe my students could share with the other students a possible way to get there via Erasmus. Maybe somebody could find some fundings for visiting sites via any other financial projects for young people. Maybe Maybe they are, sometimes they are, organizing themselves behind our backs without teachers even, because they feel like being responsible. I don't have anything against it. It's just their experience. They must share, they must go and collect data and feelings and then share with the others, possibly. And at Lyon, they were also sharing, like, the best the best places for coffee or something like that. They were, they've linked it immediately. So just sharing, even meeting Lyon, why not?
Yeah.
Or meeting in the evening and then sharing some photos of themselves when they were visiting the exhibition. It's also a great value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
So
hear
maybe
you.
having a kind of platform for sharing, I don't know.
Yes.
hear
I
you,
know
and
it's
the more,
fragile data, and
yeah.
that's a problem, isn't it?
Yeah, the more I hear you and the more I hear Guillermo, because I know Guillermo, you talked to me about it in Lyon as well. What I'm trying to think about is maybe I cannot promise that it will be possible for this year, but maybe opening a sort of a forum adjacent to the to architecture student contest site, where everybody who registered for the architecture student contest could create a thread and talk with
Yes.
each other.
They could
So
link,
exactly. So I will
something
try.
like
We
that.
will. We'll
Okay,
ask our.
let's
We'll ask
check.
our web agency and see if we can implement it, because we have a lot of feedback from you, from Guillermo, from other teachers that, having more link, because we are linked with the Saint-Gobain leaders, and then you link with your Saint-Gobain contact. But it's true that we don't link you all together, all the countries. So it is something that might be missing. So we need to find a way to make it happen.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Guillermo, did you want to add something?
No, actually reassuring the situation that giving the players, let's say in this case the designers, the possibility of connecting will free the organizers of being any biased or giving any benefit. I think that's very important. I don't think that should be totally free. Like there need to be a little bit of moderation, but actually I would say that forum could be a very interesting source of information for the jury when the competition is over. I mean, the amount of information that was shared across the board in terms of the culture, the future, when you get a government plan to make a huge border riverside development, and the students there said, you know what, that's pure speculation, it's never going to happen. Maybe that idea could be floating and be taken, or maybe as a whole, there will be an element of judgment, which some groups will take as a positive, others will take as a negative. Now, one thing that is absolutely important is in all these competitions, the version that any group makes is valid, right? We saw last week in Lyon that 33 projects were answering the question. And of course, one of them or a few of them had to be acknowledged. But I think it's interesting that this is another type of, this is another competition, another brief that could be achieved in the very same way, that teachers like me or any of you that are here will be satisfied even before sending the final to the entry. We saw with our colleagues that most of the winning projects, we had some kind similar projects in our side that we choose not to send, you see. So it's a little bit of a roulette, but that's how design it is. And the debate is super rich. So that forum for us, the teachers, could continue. And let's not wait until next year in Serbia to talk about our experience. Maybe we could do it before.
Yeah. Okay. No, I hear you. We're going to explore and see how we can implement it as best, because as you said, it will need moderation for sure. But we understand that you need to be put in touch all the teachers together better and to be able to exchange. And for us, it's important, if you exchange, to have all the as you say, it's super enriching. It's very precious for us, and it's precious for every other student and every other teacher, to have that feedback available at the same level for everybody. not just keep it between 2 or 3 people, but make sure that everybody has access to this information. So we're keeping this in mind for now. And I know it's not at the level that you have in mind and that we will want to, but for now, you have the public FAQ page. So it's a start towards that direction. This is why we made it, I think it was last year, to make sure that all the questions, because sometimes we have the same questions, or you have questions that you don't think about as a student and you think, oh, actually, this is quite interesting to have the answer to that question. So this is why we started with the open public frequently asked question page to make sure that everybody has the same level of information and they can benefit from the question of other teams. So it's a step in this direction, but we hear you and we're going to try to see how we can find a solution to put you more in touch. Thank you so much, Guillermo, and thank you, Agnieszka, and thank you, everybody, for all your feedback, because as you know, as Timo, Luca, Goran, and myself were saying, your feedback, it helps us build a better contest task as well. I don't think we had any more questions in the chat, but we'll still have time if you want to raise your hand, unmute yourself, or write your question in the chat.
Just waiting if there's are
Michelle?
we going to share yes, we will share the presentation and the recording.
Yes, absolutely. Everything is going to be shared. So we put everything on Viva Engage. So for the Saint-Gobain colleagues, and you have access to them, you can share them with your teachers. But this very presentation is being recorded and it will be uploaded on YouTube by the end of the week. We will send you an email to notify you to the Saint-Gobain colleagues.
A question from Michelle, or is it the same one that was written down?
No, I think, Michelle, you have another
Okay,
question.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, if I could, just a short question from my side about the specific species of birds. Would there be any possibility, because as I could notice via shared by Saint-Gobain Poland presentation, there was a link to those birds, to those pilgrim species, only by Wikipedia, which is not a professional source of knowledge from my side, sorry. Always repeating it to my students. So would it be possible from the Serbian side to connect us with a professional site with some knowledge? What do those birds really need? Not just Wikipedia one, that we would have to check and improve all the informations or documentation, because they, as specialists and researchers, they know the best the local needs for those birds, and this is the clue thing that we would have to need for.
Thank you for that comment.
Yeah.
And of course, we will give you a contact. We will share with you the contacts with the professional for that field. At that moment, we just wanted to emphasize that how fragile that ecosystem is, so that we in the whole manner of sustainability, that we need to think about the let's say animals as well. But if you are interested more in that topic, of course, we can share with you the contacts with all of you, the contacts with the professionals with green building, blue-green corridors, too much green in this story, with all the professionals regarding that topic, so that you can research more. Thank you.
Would be great, because then we are at the place that you're really looking at. Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
And now, Michelle, you had a question. Your hand raised.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Good morning from the USA. Fabulous trip in Lyon. So thank you so much. I know my team really enjoyed it. So more on, because I'm the representative for Saint-Gobain here in North America. Canada may play in this competition for next year, which is kind of exciting. But I had a question. I spoke to a couple of people during our trip about the Saint-Gobain brands and products. Since we are North America, they are quite different than what you have in Europe. So I was wondering if there's like a menu of products and brands that we can share across everybody in this competition about what should be used in this specific region and area. And then they can further investigate and do their research. So if something like that could be possible, that would be really helpful.
Thank you. Thank you for that question.
It's more of a comment, but yeah.
Because the creation of the catalog of recommended products and solutions there are present at Saint-Gobain, Serbia, and in whole region of Eastern Europe region is in progress. So we are creating. Currently, we're working on it. The catalog with the let's say internationally important Saint-Gobain products and solutions, but with the local ones as well, which are very important for us. So there students can find all the necessary information about our products and solutions that can be used for this project. Because if we are thinking about sustainability all the times, then it would be wise to use the locally available products, right? So that's the reason why we started with let's say development of that catalog, and I do believe that it will be finished as soon as possible. Thank you for that.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think we have any more questions in the chat. Does anyone have another question? And if you need, more time, because we know some of you were not able to participate in the first session of the Teachers' Days, and you might not have seen the recording that is on YouTube. We are waiting, for your questions and your inputs. You can, if you're a teacher, you can send them to your Saint-Gobain local leader, who can send them to us. And Timo, I believe, until when do you leave the floor open to questions and comments?
No, I think ideally, if you have any additional questions, if we can receive them in the next 2 weeks, it would be good, because then that would give us a good portion of the month of July to try to answer them, and properly include them into the contest task. So again, the invitation is, for the Saint-Gobain leaders to share with your teachers, for the teachers to look more into detail to all the documentation that has been shared. Not only the presentation, but also the drawings and the other documents that are available. And any questions you might have related to
you are on mute.
I'm on mute.
Can you hear us?
We can hear you.
Yes, we can.
It's because we're in a meeting room, so Timo's personal microphone is off on his computer, but the meeting room is on.
Where's his mic? No, but again, the idea is, if you have any questions related to the contest task as a major challenge in terms of the locations, documentations, comments like the ones that were just shared before, in terms of is there a master plan or not, those topics, if you can share your questions within the next 2 weeks, that would be ideal for us then, with the Serbian team, to contact the local partners and address them. Then I also say that as we have experienced so far, once the students are going to start to work on their projects, they will have 1,000 more questions. Can we excavate? Can we go over 20 floors? Can we put a stair here or something there? There will be how many rooms there, should they be shared or not shared? There are going to be more questions, and for that, the idea is to continue to use the frequently asked question page. So then just this to say that the questions that probably we're expecting from the teachers is in relation to how to best give a framework for students to be able to address the project appropriately. Not necessarily to go into all levels of detail, but is the size, as you mentioned, are there information on material catalogs, on to which building should they do simulations or not, to frame let's say the level of difficulty that they will address during the project. And then any other more, let's say, detailed questions most likely will appear once the students start to work on their project.
And I saw a question in the chat from Juan Carlos. Are you going to share the presentation and through which channel? So yes, this presentation is recorded. The video will be put on our YouTube channel, so on the Architecture Student Contest YouTube channel for public viewing by the end of the week. And then the deck that you see, so the PowerPoint presentation, it will be put at the disposal of each Saint-Gobain representative in the countries, and they will be able to send it to any teacher who wants the presentation as well. So if you want to watch the recording, you can have access on YouTube. And if you want to have the presentation, you can ask your Saint-Gobain contact for it. And I don't think we have any more questions. So anyway, Timo just gave you 2 weeks, 2 weeks more if you have any more questions and feedback, because, you know, as we mentioned, you really help us build the best contest as possible. And we're very excited already to see the proposals for 2026 and talking about the next steps. So we have the 2 days of the 2 sessions of the Teachers' Days. As I mentioned, this presentation will be put on YouTube, and the deck itself would be put at the disposal of all Saint-Gobain leaders in every country, and you can send them out to your teachers. So in September, on September 1st, a final version of the contest task available, and the website for the Architecture Student Contest will be changed to 2026. Then we always have a period of online trainings from September to January. They are free, they're available to everyone, teachers and students from all over the world, and they are always recorded because we know that you all live in different time zones. The students, they will have until the end of March 2026 to register on the Architecture Student Contest website if they want to participate in the contest. The national stage, so the first competition in the countries, will have to be done by the end of April, because in May we ask for the winners of each country, so each national stage, to submit their project on the Architecture Student website. And from the 23rd to the 25th of June, 2026, not 2025, I will change this, we will meet in Belgrade, Serbia, for the international final, so 1 winning team per country defending their projects. And here you have the links to the official website and the different social media platforms. And once again, thank you very much for your attention. Thank you for your commitment, for your contributions. And if you have any question, you can contact your local Saint-Gobain leader who can answer you, or they can reach us if you have more specific questions that we need to answer. You have 2 weeks, so that will be, let me see, until the 11th of July. To give us new questions and feedback if you want on the current contest task. And it's 1st of September, everything will be updated on the website. So thank you again so much. And we will talk to you again very, very soon. And we're very excited for the 2026 edition of the Architecture Student Contest.
Indeed. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank you very
everyone.
much.
Thank
Have a
you.
good
Thank you.
afternoon. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.